All right. And we should be good. We should be live. Um, Thank you all so much for joining us for another live stream here. I have an excellent guest with me. Has been on the show before. Rich Willett from Iconic, excellent researcher. He's had skin in the game for, I'd say, about 20 plus years. I think you've said to me before, right?
It's been a while, yeah. It's
Yeah.
been it's been a while. Yeah, getting on now.
I've learned so much from your work and just like the different conversations that we've had, discussing various forms of like mysticism and the Cabala, key players, and even up to like today's politics. We've discussed like Peter Thiel and people like Elon Musk, and their like occult ties. And then I come to understand that you've done quite a bit of extensive research on figures like Epstein and his involvement with things like Zorro Ranch, and you've actually spoken to like a couple of the survivors and stuff like that.
Yeah, absolutely. Juliet Bryant is the one I spoke to most. And she talks about we've spoken in depth for a very long time. And the stuff that she talks about, which is very strange to see. She was on Piers Morgan the other day, I
I just
believe.
saw that. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, she was on Piers Morgan because this stuff that you can't, it's like a beach ball. They can't keep it hidden from us. So yeah, Juliet Bryant talks about her time. This was 20 plus years ago. She's a really nice lady, and she's obviously traumatized by all of this. But she does her own research into this, and it's the whole kind of thing where, I mean, she says that what happens on the island is not really the trafficking of young girls. They seem to be more for his benefit than a little bit of compromise around, but it's not really the prime reality of what he's saying. So what he's doing is there's transhumanist stuff going on. I mean, it's literally as simple as that. What's going on underneath the island and what's going on underneath Zorro Ranch? You've got in New Mexico, you've got Los Alamos National Laboratory, which is rumored to have underground tunnels. You've got Dulce Base, which is rumored to have 7 underground levels, which is again Cabala and many other things. Then you have the Church of Spiritual Technology, which is Scientology, have a place called Trementina Base there, which is supposed to have L. Ron Hubbard's stuff cryogenically frozen. All of his, I think he's there.
Yeah.
Cryogenically frozen, by the way. That's in New Mexico. You obviously had the Roswell crash, which I have a completely different take on what I think happened there than most. I don't think anyone was coming from out of here trying to get in. I think they were trying to escape out from the bases, and they were using the technology from the bases, and they just didn't make it. I
Oh,
think that's what happened. I don't think something else was coming in. I just
yeah.
get feel. I just from the research, it feels like actually there's a lot going on underneath New Mexico quite clearly. So
Absolutely.
why something wouldn't be trying to escape from there is more likely. Then you have the Trinity site, which is where they did the first nuclear test for the rockets, which involved what was his name? L. Ron Hubbard as
Mhm.
well was involved with Jack Parsons, and they were Crowley acolytes, and they did to so L. Ron Hubbard and Jack Parsons together, who was a rocket scientist, worked on that rocket launch Trinity. They did the Babylon working ritual together. Now the Babylon working ritual, and I know you know all this stuff, is the basically the origins of the Rosemary's Baby films. So, and that was a Crowley attempt at bringing this whore of Babylon from the Bible into a physical body. And there's rumors that Jack Parsons had a fetus there in a glass case, and they were trying to invoke this being through that explosion, which was the Trinity test, into that being.
And for those that don't know, that's like the Moonchild stuff.
Yes.
With Rosemary's Baby, it's like having this vessel that will allow the Antichrist to kind of come into being through
That's it.
them.
Yep, that's exactly what it is. Yeah. Yeah. So are we actually live on X now? Oh, we are. Sorry, I didn't update on mine. Yeah, yeah, exactly. That's exactly what it is. And so now we're doing the same thing with technology, and
Mhm.
I believe that's what Epstein was really doing. Like he was part of that. I'm not saying he was doing the initial um, rituals, you would call them,
Yeah.
called techno rituals now. But I believe he was definitely underneath that island working on these women, taking their eggs, taking the sperm from other male models, because you got the guy from Abercrombie and Fitch who was doing the same thing, trafficking young male models on St. Bart's, which is literally right next door to it, to Epstein Island. They were doing stuff with sperm and eggs there, and I think they were trying to create a what they call it, a homunculus, don't they, or a shell for this being. And I think you can have the same prospects for AI, what they're doing with AI as well. It's the ghost in the machine type scenario. But Epstein was doing stuff under that island, and absolutely he was. Juliet Bryant, as you know, she woke up paralyzed and naked on a laboratory table, with a trouble with that word, under Zorro Ranch, she says. At the same time, Michael Bay was there, who did The Island. I've checked all these things out over the last year, and there's clear connections between these people. Michael Bay's first advert was for Wexler. So, you know, the connections are there if you find them. So it's not as if she's just plucking these things out of the air. She was there. She's been paid out as a survivor. This isn't just someone who's saying this stuff. She was there. She's got pictures of herself on the island. She's got that she took with one of these roll cameras that you used to have back then when you used to roll it on. Like this is well known to have a lot of weight to this. That's why it won't go away. I think there's stuff under that island. I really do. Yeah.
I absolutely got, you know, I've kind of been accused of like trivializing sort of the sex trafficking part of it. Because I am attempting to tell people like that seems to be a little bit of a red herring. Not that it's not important. But I think that they're intentionally focusing so much on that to take attention away from these transhumanist experiments and like the money laundering and things like that. You know, it's no secret that the Epstein list has kind of dominated, you know, headlines pretty much most of this year, I think, especially. And they're, from everything that I've seen, like from mainstream sources, like nobody mentions Zorro Ranch. I think the only mention was that estate won the lottery at one point, and was actually awarded like a Powerball lottery winning. And yeah, and that was extremely interesting, but that seems to be where like the conversation stops. Now, you know, I've kind of done some digging into Epstein's connections with people like George Church.
Yes.
I know George Church owns that Colossal Biosciences that just resurrected the dire wolf. And I think they've talked about like bringing woolly mammoths and stuff back from extinction before. And, you know, a lot of people don't seem to put that into context with like, hey, this guy that is literally bringing things back from extinction was the main point of contact for Epstein as far as like his DNA stuff and his transhumanist stuff is involved. So
it's huge, that part, mate.
yeah,
That part is huge. I include that in the film that's just come out on Iconic.com, I'm Immortal. That part is huge. George Church is a massive part of that. He resurrected the direwolf. They were Romulus and Remus, they've called them, which is the two wolves that were supposed to have founded Rome.
Yeah.
And they were brought up by a wolf. And when you look at Elon Musk, this is insane. This is his most recent child that he had was with a lady, and the child was obviously with a lady. You never know these days, do you? To be honest, I can't remember her name on top of my head, and it'll come back to me. But
Ashley St. Clair.
That's it, Ashley St. Clair. The child was conceived on St. Bart's Island.
Oh wow!
And they named the child Romulus.
Really?
Give me goosebumps. Guarantee it. Go and Google it. Child's called Romulus, conceived on St. Bart's Island, which is literally a stone's throw from St. James Island. There's something going on underneath all those islands.
Yeah.
St. James, St. Thomas, St. Bart's, all of those islands there. And you've not too far away from Richard Branson's island. These Virgin Islands, underneath there's absolutely, in my research has led to there's so much under there. If you go to St. Bart's and you go right to the edge of the water of St. Bart's, there's an old Rockefeller mansion there as well, abandoned. The guy that I told about earlier, who was trafficking male models. He did that on St. Bart's. So did P. Diddy was doing his stuff on St. Bart's.
Oh, wow.
This is far, far bigger than most people will even have a look at. So it's Romulus and Remus. And then when she had the baby, there's a picture of her and she's turned around and she's got a moon on the back of her. I think it's either it's a tattoo or it's on her dress. Pretty girl. Well, that's the moon child.
Yeah.
Vecna, all of this stuff. They are doing this. And they are trying to build. It's the same thing as having Diana and Kate Middleton wearing the Rosemary Baby dress. They're trying to build a vessel for this Antichrist being. And I'm not saying the kids that are involved are the Antichrist. I'm not saying that. They're perfecting a biological spacesuit for it in that sense. And they are a lot to do with it. George Church is massive in this, mate. The colossal biosciences. He came up with a concept of, and they can do this, saving JPEGs, JavaScript, and even possibly video, definitely text, they can save it to the DNA and reintroduce it to the body. So where do you think those JPEGs are on all this compromat? Probably in Epstein's body or Ghislaine Max's body. If you wanted to hide something, where would you do it? You'd put it in the cells of your body whilst you're in the cell. I just think I put all this stuff out there and people just like it becomes true eventually. You're like, this is, even if it's nonsense, it's worth a look. All of the evidence is there to go, that could be something these nutters are trying to do.
Absolutely. Yeah. No, I mean, like when you start to bring all of these things into context and then you realize, you had Ghislaine Maxwell running that like Terra Mar stuff and the underground channels, that very easily could have provided transport between these islands, very undercover, what I would consider like virtually international waters. So there's nobody with eyes on there. And especially, considering the close proximity with various world governments and stuff, they were probably encouraged to not look over there. And then that's how you kind of get all of these things. And from my understanding, like when the island was kind of discovered and stuff, they had this massive construction project to kind of fill in like underground sections of the estate there. And was that also something that took place in Zorro Ranch?
I haven't heard about it in Zorro Ranch, but I do believe there's stuff underneath there that's been taken over by someone who's very, well, not just wealthy, but very connected. So people haven't managed to have a look at that place. I guarantee that, well, I'm 90% sure there's stuff going on underneath there, but they haven't underneath. But under Epstein Island, as you said, 3 weeks before he was raided, he obviously knew about that. He ordered a £500,000 cement truck to fill in something on the island. Yeah. So, like, I mean, it's not out there that this is happening. He also was connected to a company like the Boring Company that actually create. He was part of their funding, but they said he had nothing to do with it than day to day. But they actually create underground bases.
Oh wow!
So come on, it's just I can't remember what the name of that is. I'll have to have a look into that. But you put all these bits together, and then what people don't do is. And you do more than most, and is they get all the financial stuff together and the political stuff together, and they completely disregard the esoteric and the occult.
Yeah,
what is all this for? Because all of that stuff is a symptom, and it is, doesn't it? And it's all really important stuff. But that's how it plays out in the world. Why are they doing this? Why do they have all these symbols everywhere? Why do they talk about 600,000 Chinese coming over when Trump's talking about that? When it's 600,000 sparks of light, it's because he's a Kabbalist.
Yeah.
This is all code. So why? What are they into? And then you look into what the Cabala is and the Lurianic Cabala, which I know you've done loads of as well. Spoken to Christopher John Bjertnæs, which we both have, who's an absolute genius at this stuff.
Yeah.
And his book, Beware the World to Come, I would highly recommend it to everyone. That just breaks down how they use the Cabala, which is Platoism, which is the same thing as the emanation theory. It's all about leaving this body and leveling up. It's every religion is the same when you look at that model.
Yeah.
It's fascinating, but people just disregard that. But it's so obvious.
Yeah.
So obvious. This is a cult. An absolute cult.
It's one of those things where, you know, the second that you do start to look into these things and you come to understand their beliefs, like I don't know if it was this way for you, but I started seeing it everywhere.
Mm.
The Saturn symbolism, various, you know, numerologies that are associated with the belief system as well. It's like every time I see Elon Musk tweet, if there's a number in it, it's probably going to be like 42.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Um, and it's also interesting too because like when we talk about the Virgin Island stuff, there's this connection that I ended up coming across. So Isabel Maxwell, Ghislaine's sister, she actually created like a web browser, like a search engine called
Right.
Magellan,
Okay.
and that was purchased by this company called Excite. And Excite has this guy named George Bell who works with General Catalyst Partners. This like huge VC capital firm, backs a lot of these like tech companies and things like that. So he sits on a trust for public land that oversees the Virgin Islands National Park expansion program. And I thought that that was something interesting to kind of put on
Mm.
your radar because it seems to me essentially that this guy that helped facilitate the purchase of the Maxwell search engine is also part of this VC capital fund and in charge of like a governing body that oversees how the Virgin Islands allocates its land.
Wow.
Yeah,
That's incredible.
yeah. That
Well,
guy,
there you go. Yeah.
yeah, that guy's
Oh,
name is George Bell. If you want to look
George
into,
Bell. I will
yeah,
do. I'm going to make a note of that. George Bell. That does, but it does ring a bell. That guy, George Bell. I'll have a look into him. I
okay,
might have just watched one of your videos where you mentioned him because I do watch your stuff.
I
Um,
appreciate that.
I do, of course I do. I think you're one of the best that's come around in a long time. And I think that you should hold your head up high about this stuff because this stuff is way out there. But it's true.
Yeah.
And it doesn't really matter whether we believe it's true. Like the actual magical black magic of it is true, which I believe there is truth to it.
Mhm.
They do. And that's the real important thing. That's really interesting, George Bell. We'll have a look into him because there's clearly something going on in the Virgin Islands over there. There
Yeah.
clearly is something underneath there, something to do with harvesting eggs and sperm and transhumanism. And as I say, I think they're building a vessel, and that's why I come back to what I was saying about Roswell. My take on it is that my hunch on it is that whatever was trying to escape there, those bodies that they found, were early transhumanist biosynth beings.
Okay.
They would just, it was a long time ago, and they were trying to build this being.
Yeah.
Like you go back to the Anunnaki times, whatever's true about that. The themes I think are true. They were, they're creating a being. You go through prototypes. I think that was a prototypes trying to escape this bloody place.
Yeah.
And I think when we see like aliens and stuff, what we actually realize is that we're all one soul anyway, just inhabiting different bodies. You don't see a Chinese person as an alien just
Yeah.
because they look different. So even if they come from a different galaxy, I would just see them as a soul. We're all connected, but they're just in a different body and they grew up on that place.
Yeah.
These beings, I think what happened here is that they were trying to genetically engineer the perfect vessel as the Rosemary's Baby situation or the Babylon working ritual, which is the Moonchild. They're trying to build a shell for the Antichrist. This is a cult. You've got, that you've got Chabad in
Yeah.
there with Donald Trump, Netanyahu, Putin, all the rest, RFK Jr. Look what they believe. They tell you.
Yeah.
They believe in this new world order, this world to come, and they believe that this is all biblical prophecies they're playing out. They're lunatics.
Yeah. Absolutely. Yeah. Like, you start to look at like I look at when Trump went to Rabbi Schneerson's grave, for example, and they essentially, from my understanding, like they see him as, their prophet. He is like their, Jesus Christ or Muhammad or, whatever that looks like. And I mean, this was somebody that was walking around, with the rest of us, what, 20 years ago?
Yeah. I know. And goes even deeper with Trump. And Trump, he's even put images out there of him with a goat's head and a red tie on being the scapegoat.
Mhm.
He's trying to scapegoat the Christians for what these Sabbatean Frankists, not Jews, are doing. They're using the Jewish faith and hiding behind it. So most people who have the Jewish faith genuinely believe in what the Jewish faith says. And also they don't force God's hand, which is the crucial point. They wait for these things to happen in God's time. This cult have a timeline to work to. That's what's dangerous about it. And they're not Jewish, they're Sabbatean Frankists. Goes way back to the Rothschilds, back to the Ashkenazim, back all the way to the Caucasus Mountains, back to the Anunnaki and the black nobility bloodlines.
Yeah.
We've figured all this out. And I think now, when you look at someone like Trump, who is of a nobility bloodline, he's panicking. They're all over the place. They literally, they are all over the place because it's so obvious now. And they haven't got much time to finish this in the grand scheme of things. So with him, he was the 45th and 47th president. Well, these are 9/11 president. 4 and 5 is 9, and 4 and 7 is 11. He was the 9/11 president. That's Abaddon, the bottomless pit. He's coming out the bottomless pit. This is this, creature from the bottomless pit. It's all coded. And 9/11, obviously, was bringing down of the Twin Towers, Yakin and Boaz, which is all Solomon's temple, which is what the Chabad guys want to rebuild, a new temple. And in that temple, they want to house the AI, the broadcast, and they say this on their website. Go and have a look, Chabad.org. They say it's a broadcasting system to the rest of the world and a portal or a gateway into other worlds. They tell you in their own writing on their website because they know you're not going to look. Yeah. It's part of their karmic thing. They have to put it out there. They're lunatics. They're all wearing the Saturn hat. They're Satanists. So their God is, and this is something that people get really... I don't know if you've come across this, but people get hung up on names and argue over names and like the smallest detail. They want you to argue over these fucking details and years and stuff. No one cares. It's an archetype.
Yeah.
It's a blueprint. So the evil creator God, you call him the demiurge, you can call him Satan, you can call him whatever you want, Mum-Ra, you want like the Thundercats, you can call him whatever you want, Skeletor. It's this evil creator God blueprint. That's what Saturn is. That's what it represents. This evil father figure, the Old Testament God, Yahweh. Doesn't matter what you call it, because it's not really the point is that you're praising and they're worshipping that entity.
Yeah.
It's a vibrational thing. So it has nothing to do with it. It doesn't matter what name you call it, really. It matters where there's a knowing out there that knows where people are directing their praise to. So this God that they want to bring through, whatever they decide to call it, this Antichrist, is this evil creator God.
Yeah.
Now you can argue whether he existed or not, or we're conjuring him up, or just by our behavior, the thinking of him makes it be. Who knows?
Yeah.
But there's certainly things going on in this world we don't understand, mate. Really is. And it goes into all sorts. Time travel, bloody hell, Tesla, all of this stuff is, as you know, it just opens it up. But people just live in their little thing who research and just won't go out there and just say anything because they're too scared to sound stupid.
Absolutely.
And so this stuff is amazing to me.
And that's a point I always like to try to bring up too, is, there are so many people that are afraid to delve into some of these topics. And it's like, at the end of the day, this agenda is bigger than all of us and our opinions of each other and stuff. So like, if you honestly, feel that this is the conclusion of your research and stuff, like, you should be out there sharing it and telling everyone that, I'll be honest, like, I would love to be wrong about everything that I've, ever said and all the research that I've done and stuff. And even when I'm trying to like play devil's advocate for myself, then you have, it's like 5 new pieces of evidence that just prove me right. Like you were saying, all it takes is just like a certain amount of time, and then eventually you end up vindicated.
You do. Only last week, that's why I put out a new film on iconic.com called I Am Immortal about all of this stuff that we're discussing here. Yeah. Puts it in a narrative timeline. I've made it look like a superhero comic book because it's the easiest way to remember it. It has to be simplified, but it's not that hard to understand, really. It's just hard to believe. It's a big difference. So I've just put that film out last week. It's out on iconic.com. You can go over and watch it. I think it's $1.99 for your first month. But what is really really blew my mind was 2 days before it went out, Putin was caught on a hot mic talking to Xi Jinping about biosynth technology and becoming immortal. It's exactly what I'm saying in the film. Putin has a rabbi, Lazar, who's a Chabadnik, because they're all part of this Chabad cult.
Yeah.
That are Sabbatean Frankists, that are Satanists, really, worshippers of Satan, the old god, who they want to put in the temple. He's talking about becoming immortal. Yeah. He's talking about the technology, exactly what we've been saying for years, and he's confirming it. So, again, as you just said, you just wait a little while and they'll tell you.
Yeah.
People still don't want to accept it, though, but he's telling you. Look into technology that's trying to keep me alive forever.
Yeah, he was talking about like organ transplants and stuff, and we've I've covered some things. I'm sure you have as well about them, like 3D printing organs. There's even like the black market organ trade that is connected to a lot of these same key groups and players. And I always say, Zelensky, Putin, Netanyahu, Trump, like they all answer to the same guys. And then, people will come out and say, well, what about, Putin, kicking out certain, bankers and things like that. And it's like, yeah, I mean, they'll do little things to kind of convince you that that's not the case. And then, behind the scenes, they're staging all of these things. So when it comes to Russia talking about, implementing the digital ruble, for example, like that's very much in progress right now. China's working on their own sort of CBDC, Japan, the United States, like it's worldwide. And the fact that even post-COVID, people aren't able to kind of see how the nations that are supposed to be in conflict with each other are actually working together when it comes time for them to sort of progress this agenda along. And it's like people they're not capable of believing that all of the world governments have kind of been captured like that.
I think it scares them too much.
Yeah.
But I think the first mistake is to believe there are governments of each country.
Yeah.
To a large degree. There isn't. There is a secret society that's set up its outposts in different parts of the world. Everybody knows that it was the British Empire that started the United States. There's Freemasons, black nobility bloodlines in suits, stayed there, and that's a project.
Yeah.
It's a project. It was called the Virginia Corporation or Company, and they left their Freemasons there to carry it on. Now, the British royal family, they're not British, obviously. Yeah. They're German, but even in going further than that, they're related to these bloodlines, these black nobility bloodlines that go all the way back to Mesopotamia. Look at their Balmoral crest. It's got the sigil of Saturn on it. Balmoral. Morals of Baal.
Yeah.
Baal is a title. So Moloch had a title like Baal. And then people argue over who was who and what characters what. Again, put that down. Baal and Moloch are the same thing, but Baal was a title given to a deity, like a sir, like a knighthood. But it doesn't matter because some people just said the Baal or the sir over there, or it's not really the important. The important bits is you're talking about the same entities that they used to feed children to for a bloody fucking grill.
Yeah,
it's mad. These are the same people. They're calling it that. I've been to Balmoral Castle. I've been up to the we weren't allowed in. They're going to let Gareth in. We went up to the big tomb, the big, I've got a name for it, but I can't remember what it's called. But it's this big stone pyramid that's dedicated to the husband of Queen Victoria, I believe, Philip, I think. There's no way she walked up there.
Yeah.
I mean, it's massive. There's tunnels to that place.
Yeah.
I think you were just looking at the tip of an obelisk, to be honest, but it's creepy as hell. It's horrible, and you can feel it. These people are Satanists. Now, you can argue whether, is it them? Or because of their bloodlines, can they be possessed easy by these other... We're all vibrational beings. And these guys know this stuff, because that's what's passed down through the mystery schools.
Yeah.
So all we're really doing is talking about the nature of reality that we knew once, that was open to all of us. They stole it and stuck it in the mystery schools. Well, it was there anyway, but they blocked it off in terms of these occultists, the snake brotherhoods. And now that is what they use. That's why they use symbols. That's why they use sound. That's why they use numbers. That's why they use color. Most people won't understand why the rainbow's used. It's the visible light spectrum. It's what we're trapped in. We can't see outside the visible light spectrum, but there's a whole world of the electromagnetic spectrum outside that we can't see. So what's in that? And that's just in this reality.
Yeah.
So we're trapped in that rainbow. So when it comes to the Noahide laws, the promise of God not to flood the world again, well, what did he flood it with? I don't think he flooded it with water, but maybe he did. I think it was a subconscious, flooded the brain.
Mm-hmm.
Pineal gland was shut down. We weren't able to see these beings that are elsewhere around us. But I think these bloodlines can. I think these bloodlines can see these guys, probably get possessed by these guys, but they certainly worship these guys. That's why they do all the rituals. So, in a way, you kind of feel sorry for them because they've been born into that bloodline and they are hooked to this. That's why you got the Rosemary's Baby dress there. That's why you got the sigil of Saturn on Balmoral Castle, because these bloodlines are the descendants, they believe at least, and I think there is a truth to it, of these beings from ages ago who could see. So when Queen, this, another example is when Queen Elizabeth II died, or wherever she died, I don't know. They vacated her vessel and then she'll probably come back soon. I think
Probably
really
in a computer somewhere.
Oh yeah, I've seen some weird stuff. I saw a video and I can't find it anywhere of this goblin type thing when they were doing the parade of her death parade.
Mm-hmm.
There was a casket going down and there was a cart behind her, like a royal cart. And there's a fucking goblin thing in there. And I can't find it for the life of me.
Weird.
I can't find this yeah, honestly, well, maybe I dreamt it. And then there was that weird cut in where it said the audio cut in. It was something like "She lives" or "She's alive" or "It's alive." And it was like a live feed, and he had this audio cut in that was really creepy. There's an energetic thing to this, but my point was the rainbow. When she passed, they put, because they can control the weather, 2 rainbows over Buckingham Palace on the day of her memorial, because that's the Noahide laws.
Yeah.
Somewhere over the rainbow is somewhere beyond the visible light spectrum.
Yeah.
So when they talk about the Noahide laws, they want to open up this ability for them to talk to their gods from the other place that they're going to invite into this place. And as mad as that sounds, we don't know where we go when we die, and we don't know where we were before we got here. So there's something else going on.
Absolutely.
You know, there's something else going on. And you know, I think these guys know.
Yeah.
I do.
I agree. And I actually have a little bit of a theory. It's tough to prove, but you know, people like Sir Isaac Newton, I think he was sort of in the club. And I think they've established institutions of science as sort of a controlled explanation of the way that the world works. So where you have like the knowledge that is hidden away by these secret societies, on the other side of that, you also have all of these public institutions kind of claiming or like trying to explain the way the world works with the knowledge we're allowed to have.
Yeah. Yeah, no, you're right. Absolutely right. Hit the nail on the head. Materialism.
Yeah.
It's all stuff that's here. They keep us in the visible light spectrum. And exactly what you've just said there, classic example is Thomas Huxley.
Yeah.
Aldous Huxley's grandfather. Thomas Huxley. So Aldous Huxley and obviously Brave New World, I think it was, wasn't it? He taught George Orwell, who did 1984. The Huxleys were a massive eugenics family. So Thomas Huxley was known as Darwin's bulldog. He was such a fierce promoter of Charles Darwin's materialistic, this all there is world, we come from monkey stuff, Big Bang nonsense, that he was called Darwin's bulldog. Now, he started a Royal Society with his Royal Society mates, an exclusive club within the Royal Society exclusive club called the X Club. The X Club. It's always X, it's Saturn. So you've got, who else was a Royal Society member till recently? Elon Musk.
Yeah.
Obviously, X is obviously Saturn, it's 7, it's all of these Saturn symbols, it's the crossroads. It goes from one world to the next. It's there when people, okay, another example, this isn't an accident. So what was X called before it was called X? Twitter.
Yeah.
So what was the symbol for Twitter? It was a blue bird.
Yeah.
And what did the bluebird do? What did he fly over
Oh man.
in the song?
I'm blanking. If
He
you wouldn't
flew over
ask.
the he flew over the rainbow.
Yeah. Okay.
The bluebird flew over the rainbow in somewhere over the rainbow. So the bluebird flew over the rainbow out of the visible light spectrum and made way for X, the golden age. What's at the end of the rainbow?
Pot
Of gold.
Yeah.
It's ridiculous, and it's there for everybody to see. This is Cabala.
Yeah.
Donald Trump is coming out and telling you 600,000 Chinese kids are coming over to do AI. Well, that's 600,000 divine sparks.
Yeah.
If you look at the one soul of the Cabala, which these are bad guys believe, he was talking about that. He was coding to people that are watching, but they do know that they've been caught with their pants down with this stuff because it's so bloody obvious. But they're speeding up now. And I do think they're shaken how people have come to this, because there's a lot of us that do understand this now, and it's so blatant. And what's scary for them, I think, is that they have to stick to this language. You know, it's embedded, it's encoded in the way they communicate.
Yeah.
So once you do decode it, they can't change it, not easily anyway, because this is thousands of years old. So these are Kabbalists. These are Lurianic Kabbalists. Now, there's nothing wrong with the Kabbalah at its top level. It's just emanation theory. It's the way these guys invert it and use it. And that's what they are. They are Kabbalists. They think that they're going to rule the world in their eighth world, which is the eighth day, which is the start of the new week. So they start their week on the Sunday. These Kabbalists, the Jewish faith, started on a Sunday. So Saturday is the day of rest. It's the Sabbath. We're coming to the close to the time when they want to rest. So we shouldn't be here.
Yeah.
That's what they're doing. That's their timeline. And then after that, it's the golden age of Saturn. But people just don't want to accept that that's what they're doing. And he's dropping hints everywhere. He did that inaugural thing where he was doing that, I think it was the 4th of July thing this year, where he put that video out where he's standing there with his wife and there's all these golden sparks going up in the air, which old golden sparks going back to the Iron Soft, to the Godhead. Yeah. He's telling you, come out of a cube with all the colours going on behind him, which is the initial explosion of the Iron Soft, going all of these colours, which is the rainbow.
Yeah.
It's there for everyone to see, but people don't want to see it. But these are Kabbalists. 100%. Tucker Carlson, Kabbalist.
Yeah.
RFK Jr., Kabbalist. A bad Kabbalist. Donald Trump, Putin, Netanyahu, Malay, crying at the Wailing Wall, Kabbalist. All of these guys, they'll be Kabbalists and they'll be pro-Israel.
Yeah.
And Israel's just a front project for the new American century, which is the American way of helping this cult move forward the Greater Israel Project, which is playing out these messianic prophecies.
Yeah.
This is exactly what you're seeing. And I don't even know what else to say. I mean, I could give example after example, but people just can't get their head around this. This is a movie script for them.
Absolutely.
19,000 children have died since October the 7th, which they allowed to happen. Yeah. Because now they have to admit that they created Hamas. But they didn't admit that until about a week ago. Now they've got to admit, oh yeah, we did help start them. But they went rogue on us. Oh shit.
Which is crazy, because I remember a year ago, both you and I were saying that Israel started Hamas, and now it's like coming out as news, which is so strange.
It's ridiculous, isn't it? Yeah. It is. Yeah, you got even Alex Jones is there. Oh, well, you did start them, but then they lost control of them. What are you talking about? They was in there to go in and cause a problem reaction solution, as David Icke has been saying for years, the one that's consistent about this. It's ridiculous. So, and as you say, you spotted it a year ago, and it's there. He's openly told people about this. So, it's 19,000 children have died since then. 19,000 children, babies, have died because of this bollocks, and this is what this cult believes. And people just won't be able to get their head around it. It won't. They're not going to get what they want, but 19,000 children are already dead. And,
like when we go back to, their worship of, like Moloch and the different rituals and things, I think that they do kind of see that as like a mass sacrifice, and that they have to do those things in order to, I guess, like harness the energy or capture the energy to put out the rest of this agenda. You know, you were talking about how like in its purest form, like the Cabala is sort of like this non-biased system of like how to interpret the world, and sort of, you know, lay out a perception of reality itself through like spiritualism, but that they've taken that and contorted it to mean like, you know, piety is your how strict you follow this, and it does require sacrifice and these karmic exchanges and tacit compliance and things like that. You know, where they have to come out and tell us. And you know, when we start talking about like Elon Musk and the X Club and the eugenics stuff and bloodlines, you know, Elon Musk's grandfather, as you know, Joshua Haldeman, was involved with the original technocracy movement, and that plan seemed to kind of like fall apart in the sense that they weren't able to instill it immediately back then. But I do think that it's interesting when we bring up the bloodline thing that Elon then comes and repeats the same thing his grandfather did. Do you think at some point maybe Joshua Haldeman was considered like the Elon Musk figure of his time?
Yeah, it's a good point. Yeah, I would say so. Yeah, I think Elon Musk was literally born to do this. That's why they created Elon. He's clearly on the autistic spectrum.
Yeah.
I think absolutely. There is no coincidence that Elon is called Elon, and then you look at von Braun's book, Project Mars or Mars Project, and the guy that takes the humans to Mars is called Elon.
Yeah.
There's no accident there. There's another book out there that not a lot of people know about. I've done some videos on this called The Penultimate Trump, of all things.
Oh.
And this Penultimate Trump is a book about a guy that freezes himself for 300 years. He's a very rich, wealthy man, and comes back 300 years later and then finds out that actually he has to pay his karmic debt off in this new world that he paid for, because he paid for all the technology of this stuff. Mm-hmm. And so he has to go for judgment, and he basically has to live through everything that he's done to others. And obviously, by getting that amount of money, he's probably done some horrible things. Mm. So he wakes up in this new world. It's beautiful. He can have it however he wants, but he has to go through everything he's done to others, pay off his karmic debt. And where do you think they take him for judgment and punishment? The planet Mars.
Really?
Yes. So this is all there. It's called the penultimate Trump. You've got Baron Trump. You've got the little tales of Baron Trump. Mm-hmm. And this is time travel shit, basically. Yeah. Little tales about Baron Trump. He goes into the underworld and he time travels. This is early 1900s. If you look at the picture from Little Baron Trump, look at the only picture they've got the guy commissioned. It is Baron Trump. It's bloody clear. He's got the same face.
Yeah.
And Baron Trump, one being a Nephilim because he's 9 foot tall, but he's also clearly, why would you name him Baron Trump? But then you look into Donald Trump's past and find out his uncle was an FBI agent. Mm-hmm. Can't remember his name off the top of my head.
John?
But he was John, that's it. And then he was the one that picked up Tesla's papers from the hotel that Tesla died destitute in, and found some papers that were directed to the royal family.
Yeah.
So he had the blueprints for that. So who was into time travel technology? Tesla. And why does Elon Musk call it Tesla? These people, I don't believe, are actually necessarily from here this time. I think they're going back and forth. I genuinely believe that. And I don't even know if these books existed back then. Can they rewrite the past? Why can't we use our imagination to go, these things are possible. These things could happen.
Yeah. Yeah.
Then people are so restricted in what they think can happen. They don't understand that with visible light. They don't understand that the rainbow is all we're seeing. It's them colours. That's why it was used for the COVID nonsense. Because COVID, coronavirus, they used the symbol of the Cabala and the world to come, which is the Noahide laws, the rainbow. Yeah. Because they were telling you what you're getting yourself into and you're being scammed. And maybe there's some good people in there that want to try and tell you. Like, it doesn't look to me like Donald Trump's heart's in it, to be honest.
Yeah.
But it's too late. He was born into it.
Absolutely. Yeah, and it is one of those things where it's like, passing it on via the bloodline is like the perfect way for them to sort of create this Manchurian candidate type, because they're with them from the second they're born all through their youth. They probably set them up for success as sort of this like carrot stick sort of thing as well.
Yeah.
That's why you always have like these promises for families to carry over businesses and stuff. And it's actually interesting that you brought up Donald Trump's uncle, because I was doing some research into like venture capital companies and how those sort of started. And it's no secret, like people like Peter Thiel and BlackRock and things like that. I think that their institutional investments is a way to sort of alchemize will in people.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah.
And
Great way of putting it.
yeah, and it's interesting because like the very first venture capital company in its like modern form that we know now, instead of it being run by like a Rockefeller, it's like this basically this entity that a bunch of rich people can just get into, buy into, and then use that money to then fund other things. That model was the very first example was created directly by the Department of Defense. I guess it's called the Department of War now. And they set up the American Research Defense Corporation. And the very first company that the very first VC ever funded was John Trump's HVEC company, where he created like the high electric generators and stuff off of the back of Tesla's work.
Right, I didn't know that. So he actually applied Tesla's work and tried to make money off it. I didn't know that.
Yeah, it was considered like the first successful venture, and that's kind of how the Trump family like came into all of this money. And they just got showered with like these government contracts, and then the HVEC was used to help set up like radar signals and eventually like satellite and stuff right after, I think, World War II.
So everything that they were doing is to do with vibrational natures of this earth. And that's what they're trying to kind of block us out from with 5G everywhere.
Yeah.
It's all to do with the vibrational nature of this reality, whatever that might be. And I don't know, but there's something else going on here. There's something else going on here, and we've spoke about it in the past. And I think it's fascinating. It's absolutely fascinating. It doesn't scare me. I'm like, this fucking idiots messing around with stuff that was available to all of us.
Yeah.
They're just people. They're just people. Mentally deranged people, but they are people. So that's fascinating. I didn't know that. I didn't know that at all. And then let's take it up to the present day. And I've just done a video about this coming out this week. This AI god that they want to install in the Solomon's Temple. Which will broadcast everywhere. It's a portal between worlds. It's the Antichrist, Yahweh, demiurge, housed in a computer system that shall broadcast all to everybody who's connected, which will be everybody eventually if we don't stop it, which we will, obviously. But there's a guy called Anthony Lewandowski, and I know have you heard of Anthony Lewandowski?
Yeah, he was the guy that founded that AI church, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
So he founded an AI cult, really, with an AI godhead. So it's a few thousand people worship an AI godhead. He might be gay, I don't know. An AI godhead already. Now, he was sent to prison in a few years, 2016, I think, 2015, for stealing just something ridiculous, stealing I think it was driverless car secrets. So he went to prison there, and they obviously got him on something. He set up his own company with him, and they set him up quite clearly. He just seems like a geeky guy that they've set up. So he'd already set up this AI cult by then. He had to shut it down. So who pardoned him on his last day of office? Donald Trump pardons him on the last day of office the first time. Obviously, he hasn't finished yet. So he pardons him, not Julian Assange or anyone, but pardons this guy, Anthony Lewandowski. So now they own Anthony Lewandowski.
Yeah.
He's got an AI cult already who are worshipping an AI godhead. What Habad Lubavitch could do with that? Bloody hell. It's quite obvious. And one of the people that pushed him to, or urged him, Trump, to pardon Lewandowski was Peter Thiel.
Yeah.
They are building an AI religion for the world, and they've already got it all set up. They need to sell it to you. which they will do eventually, and probably not in our lifetime because, you know, we know death, but the younger generations won't know any better, especially if they're born plugged into this system. Maybe we're already plugged into a system, the Gnostics would say anyway, but, you know, subsystems within subsystems, cages within cages. But that's fascinating to me. So he's freed a guy that's got an AI cult, who started the AI cult again, by the way, and it's all ready to go in the temple and put the temple there and put your AI god in there. And once all of this 5G Starlink satellites are everywhere, you know, it's not hard to figure this stuff out. This is a shitty superhero movie. This is crap Marvel. This is what it is.
Yeah.
And that's why all the geeks are doing it. The geeks will inherit the earth. They won't. They're all being used because most of them are autistic and don't know how to trust people or who to trust.
Yeah.
Elon Musk was abused as a kid, quite frankly, by his dad. His dad was horrific. His mum told him he was a genius, and she looks like Cruella de Vil for some reason. Like, he was fucked up from the start.
Mm-hmm.
You can't blame them. There's victims on victims on victims. George Bush would have been a victim of his father, George Bush, and it will go on and on. Thousands of years of abuse. But it has to stop.
Yeah.
It has to stop somewhere. And it has to stop pretty soon, because we're getting to the point of the event horizon where people are fucking around with AI to the point where they won't know the difference between reality and the fake.
Absolutely. Yeah.
As much as we don't know already, if you think the Gnostics were right. I mean, there's that argument as well.
Yeah.
But it's getting close to this place, you know, going too far with this.
Absolutely.
So people are going to have to wake up that Donald Trump is in a cult with Putin, with Netanyahu. Yeah. And they're called Chabad Lubavitch, and they're Sabbatean Frankists, and they believe in the Cabala, the Lurianic Cabala. They believe in the world to come. They believe by the end of this 6th day, the Sabbath, we shouldn't be here, the people that are not in the cult. And they believe that they'll have 1,000 years rest. The Christians think they're going to rest with their Messiah. Well, it's them. It's the messianic lunatics. And then they're going to start their world to come, their great reset.
Absolutely.
And this is true. They're lunatics. And I know it sounds absurd, but remember, we are narrative beings. The only way we know stuff is through narrative, stories. So they have a story, including the biblical prophecies. They're not prophecies, obviously, that they're playing out.
Yeah.
And that's what these guys are doing, like any cult would do.
Absolutely. Yeah. And you know, a lot of the times, you know, I see people under my posts that say, like, these people won't win, you know, Jesus has our back, or like will save us and stuff. And, you know, I want to point them to, you know, the fact that people like Peter Thiel, are now using like Christianity as this, platform. You know, he's supposed to be speaking this month on like the Antichrist.
Yeah, he is. Yeah.
And in an interview that he did a couple weeks ago, he talked about how, you know, Christianity is like a believer in transhumanism in the sense that they can transcend. And so transforming their spirit or their soul is considered like a form of transhumanism, because you are changing like what is in the human to be something different, and that allows them to then ascend. So you can kind of see like where they're going with this, in my opinion. And I think what we're going to see is this narrative of, you know, the prophet has come back, the Messiah has come back in order to, you know, get raptured, or, you know, get pulled up into heaven, or what have you, that you have to do this certain thing. Now, whether that's, you know, injecting a vaccine, or committing to this AI cult, or uploading your brain to the cloud. You know, I think that, you know, I've kind of mentioned how the rapture is just going to be the mass uploading of the public consciousness into a box, basically.
Techno-rapture, yeah. I call it in the film that's just come out, Techno-rapture. And I go through the whole thing. It's quite clear that that's exactly, it's an upload, isn't it?
Yeah.
So, yeah, no, I agree with it. I think that's pretty obvious, that one. But that's, yeah, I agree. I didn't know he'd been speaking about that in that way. Clearly, Peter Thiel's talking about the Cabala, working your way back up the tree of life. I mean, the Kabbalists, you just have to accept that these are lunatics.
Yeah.
Very wealthy lunatics.
Absolutely. And too, like, I've mentioned in the past, I'm starting to see a lot more people talk about Peter Thiel and the type of person that he is. But I also think that he's kind of serving as like the lightning rod for a lot of these things where, it seems like all we need to do is get Peter Thiel out. All we have to do is get rid of APAC. All we have to do is get rid of Israel, and then the whole
Yes.
world will be better. That's not the case. There are people like Eric Schmidt, who are out there pushing this stuff just as much as Peter Thiel is. I'd argue probably a little bit more because he's actually got like an official governmental position where he was appointed by Obama to kind of oversee. Do you remember the Special Studies Project by the Rockefeller?
No.
So FDR basically commissioned the Rockefellers to come up with a special studies project. And
Right.
this was like essentially planning for America's infrastructure for the future. And picking like key agenda points and things like that over the course of what would be the next like 20 years of American development. And obviously Rockefeller, having his hands in that has kind of steered us in the direction we're going. Well, Obama actually set up a new special studies project where he appointed Eric Schmidt to that board directly. And so Eric Schmidt has been making sort of official government decisions on behalf of like technology and AI and things like that. And I think that is kind of where we saw the fourth industrial revolution begin. And we started to see data centers pop up everywhere. Big tech went transformed into bigger tech. And now we have like AI implementation that started with Biden, Trump's first term, and now into Trump's second term. And it seems like to me, I kind of want your opinion on this, is that Solomon's Temple might not necessarily be like a geographic location, but more so of like a system of digital control that is worldwide. And it's like they're building up all of these seemingly separate like technocratic states. So America's got to beat China, China's got to beat America, East versus West stuff, but they're all building the same system. And whenever the time comes, whenever they're ready, all they'll have to do is flip that switch and all of those things will be connected. I think that is like the coming of the third temple. What do you think?
I think that's a really good shout. I think it's a really good point. It's not something I'd kind of considered before, but that makes sense to me. Is that the temple would be a system that is placed over humanity, so we're all in the temple, as opposed to putting it as a physical location. That makes sense.
Yeah.
That makes sense to me completely. That would be the smart grid connected to your universal basic income, the compliance score. I've called it. Also, there is another thing I've come up with this week, and it's to do with how your attitude score is how you actually treat AI. They're trying to get you to treat it better. That's another whole thing, as if it's human. So your attitude score will be part of it as well, how you talk to it nicely. No, I agree. I think that's a really good shout, and it's a really good. We should always be trying to question what we think, and I would absolutely see it as not just being a physical temple there, but also could see it as being both.
Yeah.
There would be a physical place where you go and pay homage to it, like a pilgrimage, but really the actual technology is over the world, 100%. I don't think I think they both are mutually conducive to each other. But I agree, the whole beast system could be Solomon.
Yeah.
It absolutely makes sense when you look at Westworld and look at what they did there. They were telling you in there, the name of the AI hub was Rehoboam, which is the son of Solomon. So they're telling you in these things that they're going to do stuff like that. So I agree. I actually think that's probably more likely that it will just be the system instead of an actual building. But there might be a place to go and pay pilgrimage to that you have to, which makes sense for the cultists and the ones that want to go and do that. But that pilgrimage could be blooming that you got to upload your consciousness for 6 weeks into the, it doesn't. Let's try and take the barriers off what we think we know and what we don't know. What we can strategize and see is that they are following an archetype, a blueprint of a script that we have nailed down. How they go about that and dress that up is going to be down to them, depending on the feedback loop that we're in with them and how we push back and how they need to adjust. It's a game of chess. It's a cybernetic system. So I can see that being a system, absolutely. And I think it is as well. If it's broadcasting from the temple, it's the system as well. So I agree with you, absolutely. And where does the temple go? Where is the temple on you? Well, it's in your head.
Yeah.
All got a temple. That's what they're telling you. The temple and the pineal gland is where they want to tap into, because they can't make anything for themselves. So they have to use people like me and you and everybody else in the world who's creative.
Mm-hmm.
And everyone's creative in certain ways. Every single person is creative on a level. Some are artistically creative, but some people are just, creativity is not just artistic. They can't do it without us. We need to build our own system. And the only way they can do that is to suggest these things in our mind, and we build them.
Yeah.
And we're building our own prison from that. Now, there's nothing wrong with AI. I haven't got a problem with people using AI for certain things. I haven't got a problem with people using a hammer to put up a shed. But I don't want to be sitting there going, me and the hammer, we built the shed together.
Yeah.
What the fuck are you talking about? You used the tool. It's a tool. I didn't. Me and my toothbrush were hanging out last night, brushing my teeth. It's the same mentality. It's like there's a fine line between using the tools, which I think are fantastic.
Yeah.
I don't have a problem with the tools. I'm not an absolutist. But you can use a hammer to hurt people, or you can build a house with it.
Yeah.
It really depends. It's not the bloody tool's fault. So these guys are trying to position it in a way that you will smack yourself over the head with a hammer, basically.
Yeah.
That's what they're trying to do until we wake enough people up, and they won't do it to themselves. They will be watching you smack yourself over the head. That's what a war is. It's two parts that they want to destroying each other, and them sitting back just laughing.
Yeah.
That's exactly what they're doing. Over here in the UK, you've got these prats in the alternative media that are going on about immigration, not even for a second thinking they might have been used to bring in the digital ID that Stan was talking about now.
Yeah.
The whole point, Tommy Robinsons of the world are trying to gaslight people against the Muslim faith, because it's triangulation against the Christian, British, and against the Muslims. Muslims don't give a shit.
Yeah.
They're walking around the Cabala anyway, worshipping Satan. They don't even know.
Yeah.
They go, do you know how many times they walk past around that Cabala? 7.
Yeah.
7 times. They rev it up. They go down anti-clockwise to rev it up. That's the whole point. There's an energetic thing to Saturn. That's why the Teflin's on the Jewish head. That's why the cube, the cross could be turned into a cube.
Yeah.
Because it's the same freaking religion.
I was I was looking at some information on Mecca, and it houses something called the Black Stone.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And you actually have to look at it through a portal.
No, do you?
They have an opening. I'll send you the
like a glory hole.
Kinda, yeah. Let me see if I can find it here. I just left the...
That's amazing. I didn't know that. See all these things. I can't see. Oh, this just fascinates me. All this stuff. We'll stay on for a little while if you want to. I'm happy to stay for a little bit. Wow. Well, that looks like a vagina, doesn't it? I mean, come on.
Yeah.
That is a glory hole. Or a wall potty.
Yeah.
That is mad.
But they call it a viewing portal.
No way.
Yeah. Yeah. So
that's amazing.
I thought that was interesting. And like, that's on the Wikipedia.
None of it's by mistake, mate.
No.
None of it's by mistake. No. And people say like, oh, Wikipedia, what the whole point, I actually know someone who claimed to have started Wikipedia, although he's a well-known psychopathic narcissist, so he's probably talking shit. And he's not a nice person. But I think Wikipedia is a way, you've got to understand that they have to tell you what they're doing.
Mm-hmm.
Because it's part of their karmic nature. So then the karma goes on to you. That's why Donald Trump was the scapegoat. He wants the karma on you. They're telling you, and then you're not doing anything about it. It's your own freaking fault, as you say, tacit compliance.
Yeah.
So something like Wikipedia, it doesn't mean it's all lies at all. It just means you're not going to take it as truth, or you're not even going to look into it. Don't take that as gospel truth. God, there's no truth in the gospel anyway. But other than remixed, rehashed old stories.
Oh yeah.
But do go and do your own research and further research and how to the point where you're satisfied that that's true. That's the whole point. But yeah, that's fascinating. I didn't know about the portal, mate. It's, again, they're all worshipping this evil creator god.
Yeah.
Some call Saturn, some call Kronos, some call Yoda-Bayoth. Yahweh, doesn't really matter. It's the same character. It's this evil. It's the character from the Matrix.
Yeah.
It's the guy with the big white beard. Santa Claus.
Yeah.
It's the same fucking thing over and over again. And I just find it fascinating that these guys. What a weird time to be alive.
Absolutely.
Because we've got the technology now to communicate it to each other, and there's a race on.
Yeah.
For them to get this done, they had to create they had to get us to create the technology that could actually undo the creation of what they're trying to do.
Yeah.
That's the juxtaposition of life. So there's a race on, and it's not between China and the US, because China and the US share 46,000 AI research papers between each other. There is no separation between the China and the US in the AI race. It's not a race. It's a pacemaker. It's the guy at the front keeps the race going.
Yeah.
The race isn't between them. 46,000. They shared 19,000 with the UK in the last few years. At China and the UK. China and America, 46,000 papers. Go and have a look at it. They're having issues in Congress around it because people are bringing it up. Because there are good people in these systems, obviously.
Yeah.
They're not all corrupt. No, hardly any of them are. It's just that they're corruptible, but they're not. Some of them are good people. 46,000 papers. There is no AI race.
Right.
There was no space race. It's all the same.
Yeah. Well, I think, like, you look at something like crypto as well. And, I think cryptocurrency has a huge role to play in this system. But you look at something like Tether, which the main custodian, like the guy that basically controls Tether, is Howard Lutnick. He is our, commerce secretary. Tether is headquartered in China and was founded in China by Brock Pierce, Epstein associate. Yeah.
Yeah, dodgy den,
yeah. Who's been seen with people like Conor McGregor, and I kind of feel like Conor McGregor is probably going to win Ireland because of the people he's surrounded himself with and the narratives that he's pushed and stuff. And it seems like, despite all the negatives and things about Conor McGregor himself, that he's probably going to win because he's willing to carry out this agenda.
I agree. I wouldn't see it. I mean, Donald Trump's where he is because he was supposed to be. I mean, the guy's an absolute coke head off his tits. Well, both of them are. Yeah. But I was talking about McGregor there more than Trump. I mean, the guy's a nasty piece of work. He's beating up women and he's doing all sorts. He got convicted last year in a civil case. And the guy is obviously trying to stay out of jail. So yes, of course. And that Brock Pierce guy, he was one of the founders of Den, which was an early 2000 internet kind of service that groomed young boys to be abused. Yeah. And guess who else funded that? Dave Geffen. Dave Geffen runs Hollywood.
Wow.
The Purple Mafia or the Pink Mafia or what that halfwit wants to say. He's got a boat called the Rising Sun, which is Zion.
Yep.
The guy's a crook.
Insane.
He's in there. He's an absolute nasty piece of work. He was. They're the ones that went after Michael Jackson because Michael Jackson refused to do what they said.
Yeah.
He wouldn't join their record label because he found out who they were. And you can see the whole lead up of that. And it had Harvey Weinstein involved. And they're all Zionists.
Yeah. Which
is really Sabbatean Frankists at the top level.
Yeah.
It's really, they're not in control. The ones that are in control, in my opinion, from all my research, and you say 20 years, but I mean, I could be completely wrong, it leads back to the black nobility bloodlines. You've got the Bourbon two Sicilies that are really, I think, controlling Trump. Not the bad guys, they're the foot soldiers.
Yeah.
Bourbon two Sicilies, these kind of families, these ancient bloodlines, these European bloodlines that harken back to these Anunnaki types who believe they do anyway. Through Rome, the Catholic Church is the Church of Babylon, removed or relocated. That's all that is.
Yeah.
They didn't become Christian. What they did is they took the deities and the names of all of their original gods, which were Saturn sun gods, not the original sun, but the Saturn sun gods. And and they amalgamated him into a character called Jesus.
Yeah.
The dying and rising sun. What do you think the rising sun is? Who do you think Horus is? Horus rising.
Yeah.
Horizon. It's all there for you to see, and it's so blatantly bloody obvious that it fascinates me that people can't see it for what it is. It's a global death cult. And the thing I do in my films before we go, I just want to say, is that the whole point of that I Am Immortal film is that it looks into why they are so afraid of death. Why are they terrified of death? The character Death, who's Kronos, Saturn, Yaldabaoth, the Demiurge, Yahweh, this evil creator god. They're terrified of this guy.
Yeah.
They don't worship him because they love him. They worship him because they're terrified of him. They're scared of dying. They want to become immortal like the gods.
Yeah.
Why are they scared of dying? What are they scared of happening when they die? The Judgment Day, possibly?
Yeah. Yeah, I think they're terribly afraid to be held accountable for the things that they've done in this life.
Yep.
And it's no secret, like Kronos is the time god, and they're trying to extend human life and ultimately try to make it permanent because they think maybe they could beat him or something.
Outrun the clock.
Yeah. And that's where this whole like technocratic transhumanist agenda comes from. It wasn't like they were talking about putting brains in computers, 600 years ago. It's just those same things have kind of dictated how we've progressed with technology and the way that it is applied to like the public and the world around us.
Yeah, they've had the same aims and objectives this cult had for thousands of years, and that is to live forever, stay alive as long as possible, and control as much as humanity as possible through their perceptions of what is going on. They want to be kings of this world. So when you look at the Olam Haba, this Jewish faith, they're not Jewish, they're Sabbatean Frankists. That is a physical place here on earth. That's what they believe it to be. Heaven down to earth, heaven on earth. It's a physical place.
Yeah.
And what do the Christians and the Islamic and those of the Islamic faith have to do? They get their heaven in the next world.
Yeah.
Because they want them to off themselves and blow themselves up. They want them to think that Jesus is going to come save them in the next world. Yeah. They're going to live with Jesus Christ because they don't want them here because they want this place for themselves. So it's the inverse. And you can see how it's been played out. I'm not saying that's not the Jewish faith at all. They've all been used by this Sabbatean cult that goes back thousands of years, but really was picked up in the 1600s mostly by Sabbatai Zevi and Jacob Frank in the 1700s, who joined in with Mayer Amschel Rothschild and Adam Weishaupt at the Bavarian Illuminati. But that's all just the latest incarnation of it. The wants to live forever and all that stuff goes back to Mesopotamia, Babylon, probably Lemuria, and if Atlantis ever existed.
Yeah.
This is an age-old, as you say, agenda, but the aims and objectives haven't changed. Just we've got the technology now to try and do it, and they've got to try and stay alive forever. That's exactly what they're trying to do, and I think that's happening under New Mexico. I think the technology is under New Mexico, it's under New York, it's under Virgin Islands, other places, these labs, these DUMBs, these military bases. That's what they've been doing, and that's what you've been seeing. And there's all sorts of weird shit going on there. And I think when someone stands out of line, they just take them down to one of these and show them all the horrible shit that goes on.
Absolutely. Yeah, and it's honestly so much, and I do want to thank you obviously for like your time here, but also like putting together projects like the film that you've just released, and from my understanding, people are able to go watch that on Iconic.
Yeah, well, you can watch your series as well. You've got series on there, iconic.com, $1.99 for your first month, and it's $7.99 after that. But there's all of David's stuff there for 35 plus years, and obviously his new shows that he does all the time on there, new documentaries. There's all of the series we've ever done. Your stuff's on there as well from a few months back. My weekly show Classified's on there. I do another show called Focus, which is just for the subscribers now. Trending goes on there as well, the extended trending, which is our daily news show. There's a weeklies, like the weekly show, I think it's about 12 shows we do a week on there. And then there's documentaries as well, and then there's series as well that go out perpetually as well. So we're making a ridiculous amount of stuff, a silly amount of stuff for the amount of people that we are. It's a small team, but very proud of what we've managed to do in the last 6 years of building this. It's on our own servers, so we are completely like as independent as you can be
Yeah.
in this day and age. And yeah, 199. You can go and watch I Am Immortal. It's out there now, and tell me what you think. This is the story of what we've just covered in here. But there's so much more to say, so much more to talk about, isn't there?
Absolutely, and I wish we had more time. You know, obviously in the future we can set up another stream
Yes,
and things
absolutely,
like
love
that.
to.
I'm gonna set aside some time this weekend to go watch that film because I
Mhm.
guarantee you there's a treasure trove in there of things that I had no idea about. And I look forward to that. And I want to thank you for your time, Rich, and all the work that you've done. I've included some of your links down below.
Thank you.
Yeah, man. And from my understanding, like you just relaunched your YouTube after having that banned for
Yeah, we did. Yeah.
years and years, and your Substack as well, is a good, place for information. Twitter.
Yeah, find me at WhatsApp Rich, WTAF Rich on Twitter. And then you can see all the links on there as well. But Substack as well is I'm writing a book as well at the moment, so which goes along with the film. So I'm Immortal. I'm writing the book that goes along with that as well. So it's the same theme, but I can expand more in a book than I can do in a 75-minute film.
Absolutely. Well, I'll be looking out for that, man. That's definitely gonna hit the top of my reading list.
Thank you.
Rich, thank you so much for your time again today, and I appreciate everything that you do. And thanks for all the research, the digging, the efforts, trying to put everything together and wake people up.
Oh, well, thank you. I always like working with you. I think a lot of you, and I think a lot of what you're doing. So just keep it up, and anything you ever need, you know that I'll be there. And I love chatting back and forth. And you're an excellent researcher and someone that I think you've got you've got a very very unique way of doing this and presenting this work. So I think you should be very proud of what you've managed to put together
I appreciate
in
that.
this short amount of time. I'll see you
Thanks, man.
soon.
Absolutely.